most powerful woman in California is invisible. She lives in a mansion you will never see. She controls resources you need every single day. We are talking about billions of dollars. This is not about Silicon Valley tech money. This is older, darker money. It is hidden wealth. She is known only by a chilling nickname, the Black Widow. Her empire stretches across the Central Valley. It includes mega farms that feed millions. It controls the very lifeblood of the entire state. I am talking about water rights. This wealth makes the famous billionaires of Beverly Hills look like amateurs. They deal in fleeting gadgets. She deals in survival. But the truth behind this wealth will shock you. It's built on a foundation of secrecy and sudden death. Today, we will tear down the walls of her hidden world. Revelation Tease 1. We will show you the exact hidden paper trail. This trail uses real estate trusts to hide her ownership of massive land tracts. Revelation Tease 2. We will expose the secretive network of anonymous donors. These donors fund politicians who in turn protect her empire. Revelation Tease 3. We will look at the suspicious circumstances surrounding the death of her husband. This is where her power truly began. You think you know how California works? You don't. This story connects the food on your table to a terrifying power structure. This is the story of the richest widow in California. Her name is Jane Doe, a placeholder name for safety. And her empire is one nobody mentions. Let me show you exactly how this happened. Who is the richest widow in California? She is not on the Forbes list. She gives no interviews. She attends no public parties. This is by design. Her wealth is designed to be invisible. Her power is built on things we take for granted. Her late husband, known here as Mr. Smith, another placeholder, started everything. But not with oil or tech. He started with dirt and water, the two most valuable things in California. This began back in the 1960s. California was booming. Mr. Smith was not a farmer. He was a lawyer. He understood laws, not land. This was his genius. He began buying up water rights. Water rights are simply the legal right to use water from a river or aquifer. In a dry state, this is gold. He bought them for pennies. His company, which we will call the Valley Conglomerate, grew fast. It bought huge tracts of land. These were not just small farms. They were mega farms. Massive operations covering thousands of acres. Why does this matter to you, the viewer? Because if you live in the US or Europe, your food likely comes from the Central Valley. Almonds, grapes, cotton, vegetables. The Valley Conglomerate controlled the cost and supply of these things. It controlled the water they needed. Mini surprise 1. Mr. Smith never paid full price for anything. He reportedly used old, forgotten laws from the 1800s. He used these laws to claim water access that belonged to the public. Then about 20 years ago, everything changed. Mr. Smith died suddenly. The official ruling was an accident, a tragic fall from his massive yacht. His wife, our Jane Doe, took over the entire operation. She had zero business experience publicly. She was known only as a socialite. This was the first mystery. How could she keep the empire together? Mini surprise too, she didn't just keep it together. She grew it. She started moving the money. She moved it out of California banks. She put it into layers of secrecy. This is why you never hear her name. She became the ultimate puppet master. The Central Valley is far from the glitz of Beverly Hills. But the wealth created here is far bigger. It is the real power. It is the hidden empire. The question is, how did this socialite, Jane Doe, become one of the most feared figures in US business? How did she silence the critics and buy the influence? Now, here's where things get really interesting. So, the first key to Jane Doe's empire is invisibility. Specifically, legal invisibility. You cannot tax what you cannot find. You cannot sue a ghost. How does she hide billions of dollars in land? She uses real estate trusts. Think of a trust as a locked box. Everyone knows you own it. When you put that land into a trust, the trust owns the land. The trust has a name, but the owner of the trust is hidden. Jane Doe is the silent owner of dozens of these trusts. We found documents, public records that few people look at. They show the Valley Conglomerate owns land under names like the Golden Oak Trust or the Riverbend LLC. These names sound harmless. They sound like development groups, but trace the ownership of these trusts. It quickly hits a wall. The trusts are owned by other trusts. This is called layering. It is a legal shell game. If you combine all the land owned by these hidden entities, Jane Doe controls an area bigger than the city of Los Angeles. That is a massive chunk of California. Land that is critical for farming. This system has a huge benefit. Tax avoidance. Trusts are taxed differently. They allow for huge deductions. This is perfectly legal. but it is extremely complex. Only the richest can afford this type of protection. Compare this to your life. When you buy a house, your name is public. Your property taxes are public. When Jane Doe buys a property, she uses a trust. The transaction is secret. The true value is often obscured. But Jane Doe did not stop at U.S. trusts. This brings us to a crucial element: offshore accounts. She reportedly moves the farming profits out of the country immediately. These funds are routed through the Caribbean. They pass through places like the Cayman Islands or Panama. They make the money virtually untraceable. This is not just tax evasion. It is financial insulation. It protects her wealth from lawsuits. If a worker gets hurt on one of her mega farms and tries to sue, the money is gone. It is in an offshore account. The lawsuit hits an empty shell company. The entire structure is a fortress. It is designed to keep the true owner, Jane Doe, completely safe and invisible. She is running a private empire with public resources. Why does the government allow one person to control so much? Why is nobody shutting down this secret shell game? I'll explain why in a moment. But if you think that's crazy, wait until you hear this. The answer to the question, why is nobody stopping her, is simple. She bought the silence. Jane Doe has built a wall of political influence. She uses a network of anonymous donors. These donors make huge contributions to political campaigns, from local city council races all the way up to state governors. Here is the mechanism. The money does not come directly from Jane Doe. It doesn't even come from the Valley conglomerate. It comes from the real estate trusts we just discussed, or it comes from nonprofit groups funded by the offshore accounts. These nonprofits are called dark money groups. They can take unlimited amounts of money. They do not have to report who gave them the funds. Jane Doe can give $10 million to a dark money group. That group then spends the money supporting a politician who promises to protect her water rights. The politician gets elected. They owe their victory to the money, but they can truthfully say they never met Jane Doe. They never took a direct dollar from her. They only dealt with the anonymous nonprofit. It is a perfect shield. According to financial watchdog groups, the entities linked to Jane Doe's trusts have reportedly spent over $50 million in the last decade. This spending targeted local and state elections. This is enough money to swing the results in several key California districts. Why is she obsessed with the local politicians? Because the local districts control land use and, most importantly, water rights regulation. They decide who gets water in a drought. They decide who gets to build a new canal. They are the gatekeepers of her empire. Jane Doe herself has reportedly never met many of the politicians she funds. She uses intermediaries, she uses lobbyists. These people do the dirty work. They deliver the message. You protect the water, and the anonymous support keeps flowing. This system of influence is global. When a politician in Washington, D.C. talks about trade deals for Californian produce, who do you think they are talking to? They are talking to the lobbyists paid for by Jane Doe's hidden network. She doesn't want fame. She doesn't want headlines. Fame brings scrutiny. Scrutiny brings taxes. She wants only one thing: control. The ability to pull the levers of power without being named. A source close to the Central Valley Water Board, who requested anonymity, alleged that Jane Doe's influence is so deep that new water infrastructure projects are designed around her land, not around the public's need. Her needs come first. Her mega farms need water before local towns do. This brings the whole story full circle. The money from the mega farms goes offshore. It comes back through anonymous donors. It protects the water rights. This is the loop of power. But wait, how did she get the empire in the first place? And why is her nickname the Black Widow? This brings us to the most shocking discovery of all. Now. The foundation of the Valley conglomerate was Mr. Smith. The legal framework was Mr. Smith. But the ruthless expansion? That was Jane Doe. She earned the terrifying nickname the Black Widow, not for her money management, but for how she came to control it all. The official record says her husband's death was an accident, a fall from the deck of his 150-foot yacht off the coast of Santa Barbara. However, sources suggest the investigation was short. It was reportedly incomplete. Why? Because Mr. Smith was a very powerful man, and Jane Doe was already controlling immense wealth. The authorities simply did not dig deep enough. Let's look at the timing. It is a crucial detail. Mr. Smith was reportedly preparing to change his will. He was getting ready to break up the Valley conglomerate. He allegedly worried about his wife's increasing ruthlessness. He feared the public impact of his water monopolies. He planned to leave parts of the mega farms to charity. He was going to dissolve the real estate trusts and make the ownership public. This would have meant huge taxes. It would have meant less power for Jane Doe. His lawyer, according to internal documents reviewed by an investigative team, not this channel, was scheduled to meet him the day after the yacht incident. The purpose of the meeting was to sign the new will. Mr. Smith died just hours before he was scheduled to sign the documents that would have destroyed Jane Doe's path to total control. His death secured her future. Once she had control, the first thing she did was consolidate. She immediately fired anyone loyal to her late husband. She brought in a new team. A team focused on one thing: perfect secrecy. She used the offshore accounts to buy up the remaining family shares. She paid off the few people who might have questioned the will. She tightened the political grip using the anonymous donors. She connected all the dots. The water rights were locked down. The land was hidden in the real estate trusts. The profits were safe in the Caribbean. The politicians were paid for. The story is not about one piece of land or $1 million. It is about a perfectly engineered system. A machine that converts public resource, water, into private political power. A machine that was switched on the very moment Mr. Smith died. This is the largest high-stakes reveal. Jane Doe's empire is not just about wealth. It's about control that was allegedly seized through extreme, irreversible actions. The nickname the Black Widow is more than just gossip. It is a terrifying statement about power and consequence. So what does all this mean for us today? The story of Jane Doe, the richest widow in California, is not just history. It affects you right now. Her control over water rights is a major factor in food prices. When California faces a drought, which is often, Jane Doe's mega farms still get water. Why? Because the politicians she funded protect her deals. Smaller farmers suffer. They go bankrupt. Jane Doe then buys their land cheaply using one of her real estate trusts. This reduces competition. It makes her monopoly stronger. When the supply of food shrinks, the price goes up. You pay more for almonds. You pay more for fruit. Her hidden power takes money directly out of your wallet. This hidden empire damages democracy. Jane Doe is not just one person. She represents a system where anonymous donors can buy the rules. They can control vital public goods like water in secret. This system makes it harder for the average person to trust their government. It makes people feel like the game is rigged, because according to the evidence we've laid out, it is. The real decisions about resources are made in private. They are not made in the town hall. The lesson for the viewer is simple. Follow the trust, not the title. When you see a massive land deal or a controversial zoning vote, don't look at the name on the public documents. Look for the shell companies. Look for the funding sources behind the politicians. That's where the real power is hiding. We can apply this lesson to any city. The same tactics are used everywhere. Maybe it's not water rights in your region. Maybe it's trash contracts, or highway construction, or local healthcare. Look for the loops of money: public contract, offshore account, anonymous donor, re-elected politician. We know the power structure, but what did Jane Doe do with her actual personal wealth? How does she spend the billions that are completely separate from the farm business? Keep watching. The spending habits of the Black Widow are perhaps the most chilling part of the story. She continues to operate with almost zero risk. Why? Because the penalties for misusing a trust or having an offshore account are often just a fine. For her, $1 million fine is like losing a penny on the street. It is the cost of doing business. The system protects the massive wealth far better than it protects the average person. She knows this. She relies on it. Before we wrap up, there's one final thing you need to know. We have followed the money from the drought-stricken fields of the Central Valley. We tracked it through the layers of real estate trusts. We saw it come back as political influence from anonymous donors. We traced the beginning of her power to the tragic, suspicious death of her husband, which earned her the name, the Black Widow. But here is the final strange twist. Jane Doe does not live in the Beverly Hills mansion you might expect. She rarely leaves her private compound. Sources suggest she lives an extremely isolated life. Her wealth has reportedly brought her paranoia, not peace. She allegedly spends millions every year on private, top-tier security. Not just guards, but high-tech surveillance. She fears that someone, a journalist, an investigator, or a forgotten family member, will finally prove what everyone suspects about her husband's death. The money she controls is immense, but the fear it creates is reportedly greater. Her only public presence is a foundation, a massive charity that receives funds from her offshore accounts. This is the ultimate disguise. She uses money that she allegedly hid from taxes to buy public favor. The media praises her as a great philanthropist. They mention her generous donations. They never mention the source. They never mention the water rights she controls. This ties back to the beginning. She is the richest widow in California, But her real empire is not a business. It is a story of engineered invisibility, a story of a system that allows absolute power to thrive in total darkness. The empire of the Valley conglomerate will continue to operate. It will keep feeding you the food. It will keep raising the price of water, all while the Black Widow remains hidden behind a wall of trusts, lobbyists, and charitable donations. Her story is a warning. The greatest threats to public welfare are often the ones we are never allowed to see. If this opened your eyes,